GPS or paper map?
GPS.
Roll chart or arrows?
Roll chart.
KDX 200 or XR 250?
KDX 200.
DR 350 or XR 600?
XR 600.
Hare scramble or dual sport?
Dual sport.
Dual sport or enduro?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Let's go dual sport, though.
Gibson or Fender?
Oh. Gibson.
Eddie Brewer, Richmond, Kentucky.
Chad Warrix, Nashville, Tennessee.
Are you ready to get your dual sport bike out for some of the best riding in Eastern Kentucky? May 1st through 3rd, Renfro Valley Dual Sport. We are unpacking all that on today's show. Welcome to Moto Adventure Unscripted, a weekly podcast about motorcycles, travel, and adventure. I'm your host, Drew Faulkner. Mark joins me today as we talk to Eddie and Chad, who are running the Renfro Valley Dual Sport event, to unpack everything you should expect to see, everything you need to do to prepare, and what to expect when you're riding through the woods in Appalachian, Kentucky. As usual, we want to hear from you, the listeners. Hit us with email, motoadvr@gmail.com. If you're listening here on Spotify, do us a favor and leave a comment. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, do us a favor and leave a review. Wherever you're listening, grab your beverage of choice, turn it up, and we hope you enjoy the show. Well, spring sprung and then it's 35 degrees outside, but I think everybody is already thinking about all the events that they want to do this spring and summer. So I'm glad to have boys on the show here to talk about more excellent riding, I think, in Kentucky, so I hear. So appreciate you guys coming on.
Thanks for having us.
We got a couple guys here, so I got to try to figure out traffic. First, how about Chad? Do you want to kind of introduce yourself to the show a little bit, and we can get to know you, and then I want to bring in Eddie, and we can kind of unpack some of that as well.
Yeah, so my name is Chad Warrix. I'm a lifelong motorcycle enthusiast. I've been riding dirt bikes since I was 4 years old. I guess that's like 47 years or something like that. Crazy. I'm a lifetime musician. I grew up in a musical family. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. I was born in Hazard, Kentucky. I went to high school in Eastern Kentucky, and then I left Kentucky to come to Nashville to pursue music. And I've had a career in music as a songwriter, a touring musician, and doing all those things for many, many years. And I still love to ride motorcycles. And as of the last 10 years, I've gotten to ride a lot more. That's been my reward for myself for all the hard years of touring and stuff like that. So I really enjoy it, and got started a couple years ago with the Renfro Valley Dual Sport, and just riding it, just being a part of it and being part of the sweep crew. And luckily enough, our little riding group has kind of somehow fallen into taking control of that thing, and we love it. And it's been a great passion, and I also love to ride out west in Colorado and Utah. I'll just get on my motorcycle anywhere, anytime, and it's my therapy, and it's what I love to do with my brothers and the fellowship and all the stuff that goes along with it. I've been very blessed.
So is dual sport like your preferred segment, or how does that go for you?
I mean, it was kind of a new thing for me, honestly. Like growing up as a kid in Eastern Kentucky, you could just basically ride out of your backyard right into thousands of acres. You know what I mean? They were available to us, and we basically just kind of came home at dark. Sometimes we didn't even come home at dark. Like we just, the whole street lights come on thing. There was no street lights. So we just kind of, you'd tape a flashlight to your front of your motorcycle, your dirt bike, whatever you were riding, or to your helmets, and you would ride at night or whatever. It's just a lot of great times growing up, and that just carried forward for me. Even when I came to Nashville, I went to college. I went to music business college here in Nashville. It's called Belmont University. I didn't bring my motorcycle with me, and it was some of the darkest times of my life, honestly, that I couldn't ride all the time. But I started getting back into it a little bit. I also rode ATVs or four-wheelers when I was a kid and raced a lot here and there. My parents were not into me racing, so I had to sneak to race anything that I wanted to race. My sister would sneak and take me, or a friend or something. I would have to be very cautious about how I did that because my parents were not into that. They loved me riding, but they didn't like organized racing. And so I had a talent for it. I was good at it, but I never got the opportunity to really pursue that. So I really got into music as a teenager, and music and motorcycles have always just been a big part of my life, and they continue. And I've been lucky enough to find a bunch of guys, throughout this latter half of my life to ride with as well, and it's been really a really cool thing.
I love your passion in the past 2 minutes is infectious, man. Just like total free spirit, like love motorcycles. No, it's what a great poster for that. If it's all right with you, I'd like to hand it over to Eddie to kind of introduce himself a little bit as we can unpack more of this, but I want to make sure we're fair to everybody here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and certainly excited to join the show. But my story's not quite as interesting as Chad's. So, but there is some interesting things to tie in. So Chad and I grew up in Eastern Kentucky together. We were, childhood friends, and I started riding about the same age, and we actually lived in the same hometown. And I moved away as as I became a teenager. My parents divorced and moved on, but Chad and I have always kind of stayed in touch. I kept up with his touring, would see his shows, and then life happened. So I get married, have kids, and our kids grow up, and Chad has his career, and a few years ago decided to get back into riding bikes, and knew that Chad had a passion for it. We had a passion as kids, and as a matter of fact, how we got kind of reconnected, I actually messaged him about an event. I don't think we're supposed to talk about that event on this podcast, but there's an event that happens in the fall in Kentucky. That's a great event. And I messaged him about it, and I said, "Do you know anything about this?" And he said, "I've heard of it." He said, "I can find out some more information." He said, "By the way, why don't you come down to Tennessee and ride with me?" And this was a few years ago, and ever since then we've kind of been reconnected, and the passion, the timing in my life with my kids being grown, and the love for the outdoors, the love for motorsports, the love for just the all things motorcycles never dies, but it certainly has been rekindled. And the opportunity to help be a part of the Renfro Valley Dual Sport that I'm sure we'll talk some more about. The challenges that go into putting that together, the camaraderie that goes into it, and then the unknown, the adventure that happens has really just risen to kind of the top of my passion right now where I'm at, and fortunately I'm in a place in my life that I get to enjoy it. I've got a very supportive wife, and like I said, my kids are basically grown, and to be able to be involved with such a great group of guys, and then the connection in this community isn't just in this area, it's across the country, and been able to go ride some other beautiful parts of the country, even though I'm very passionate about what's in my backyard. So
Drew, don't let him fool you. This guy is totally obsessed with riding motorcycles. It's not like he's just riding a little bit. This guy went from 0 to 2,000 in like overnight, basically. And I love it. I love watching him, that flame get rekindled, as he said. Like, it's been so cool to see him like just really develop a passion for this. And he's been so helpful to us in so many different avenues because of his passion for motorcycling. So we're lucky to have guys like him, honestly, back on two wheels.
Rumor is he rides at the Holler in Clay City. That humbles most of us very
He's
quickly.
that guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Eddie, what's your go-to ride then?
As far as where?
Yeah.
Well, I like the Cat. I really appreciate what Jeff has put together for folks to enjoy in Kentucky. So bits and pieces of that, the stuff around the gorge. It really depends on the mood. Of course, I have a passion for the Holler, as you mentioned. I love going over there. The Holler has a little bit of everything. The technical, the slow stuff, the stuff at the end of the day, you feel like you've accomplished something. Certainly that. But what and I try to explain this to some of my friends that aren't as, knowledgeable with dual sport rides. And I'm like, I tried to piece a puzzle together with different sections of really hard stuff to ride. with as little of pavement as possible. So obviously that's what we try to do at Renfro, or that's what the folks that have put that ride together years ago have done. But no, I like to go over to Clay City if I'm up for a challenge. Fortunate enough to know some folks that have some stuff that's not as well written or as well known to sneak into that stuff and ride. But I also like to put 100 miles on the odometer in a day as well.
And I have to say that area you guys are from in Hazard, Kentucky, like that area, just the off-roading is the obvious thing that we're going to talk about, but we went there on some adventure bikes several years ago, and just even the streets, dude, there's not a straight road going into or out of Hazard, Kentucky. And the coal trucks and all that, like they own the road. Like just go ahead and be prepared for that. But yeah, I just had to say that area you guys are from is wicked for riding. So y'all cut your teeth in a good area.
Yeah, we were really lucky. Honestly, like it's weird how sometimes you don't even pay attention. It's so normal for us, the roads and things like that. And then when you get away from it, you have more of a perspective. You can look back and be okay, now I get it, why people are so excited about it. And it's been I think it's been kind of a secret, honestly, for many years. But I think the word's out. There's a lot of different events going on up there. There's a lot of people coming in, which is great, and I'm happy for that. I think it's good for mom and pop tourism and all that stuff. I'm all in for that. So our little hometowns, I mean, there's been a lot of different, people that have tried to come in to save us, through the years with different types of ideas. But I really think that the ecotourism and the motorcycling and off-roading and stuff is a great answer. I think it's the perfect answer because of the geography and the people and the infrastructure that's already in place there. So we're just glad to be a little bit a part of that. And I'm all about trying to lobby to get people, the right people, to hear those things and make sure that people understand that motorcycles are a good thing.
It's nice to hear that from somebody who's actually down there. I worry about it because, I'm the fun salesman in Eastern Kentucky, but I don't actually live there. So to some degree, am I gentrifying the area with my preferred sport? So it's kind of cool to hear folks from that area, like extending a hand and waving people in. So that's great.
I think so. I think that people, it's really, sometimes we're a little slow there to pick up on things, honestly, but that's kind of the character and also the charm of the area too, is because it's a little bit slow to pick up on a lot of things like that. But I think that it's going to be the future of that area is really, going to depend on people obviously respecting, private ownership of land and doing the proper things, which I know you guys do. And we do too. We try to really, that's a big thing that we emphasize, with our group, Team 44 Moto, and with the Renfro Valley Dual Sport, and with the other things that I'm involved with and that Eddie's involved with too, that we always respect landowners and proper laws and stuff like that. So we try to get in and do it the right way. But there's a lot of stuff there untapped, and a lot of things a lot of great points of interest that are just fantastic. And the people, there's great people there, and that's always been a thing for me, like being proud of where I'm from. And I've done that in my whole music career, everywhere that I've gone and been blessed enough to tour, over this beautiful country and even in Europe and other places, that I always tell people how great Kentucky, Tennessee, the South, America in general, but just where I'm from, I'm very proud of where I'm from and where I was born and how I was raised, and the opportunities that I got to have is being a country kid, just growing up in the hills and riding dirt bikes and hanging out with all my friends. It was quite a childhood.
So with the real estate near you, what's your go-to ride?
Well, here in Nashville, it starts getting a little bit more limited. There's some great places to ride though, but I've been fortunate enough over the last, like 15 years ago, I bought a piece of property near Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And in the last, I guess probably the last it's taken me about 4 years. I've got about 11 and a little over 11 mile single track loop it's pretty technical, slow. It's got some fast sections. It's got a little bit of everything. It's great training and it's beautiful. For me, I love just to get out on my own property, and I'm constantly improving trails or changing the direction or keeping it fresh. So that's fun. And, there's other places to go. We ride in Georgia. We go as a group. Our group is about our core is about a dozen guys really strong, and we pick up and a few other guys out when we ride out west or in other areas. We've kind of absorbed some guys and whatever, but our core is about 12 strong, and amongst us 12, there's probably like 6 great opportunities of private property that we get to exploit and take advantage of our buddies, but they invite us and we love it, and so we kind of all just group up and go spend a weekend at one property, and then we kind of move around like a circus. We just pack up the tents, the RVs, and move to the next property, whoever's hosting. So I try to I host one in the fall, in October, usually at my place, and we mix a little music and dirt biking together, and the kids, and family oriented, and that's really the part of it that I really enjoy, and I've loved getting back into it that way. You know what I mean? All motorcycling can be like that, because it's, I have, my nephew is a very accomplished amateur racer right now. He's doing really great, and he's probably one of those kids you're going to see on TV next year, very soon. He holds true, if no injuries and no girls, he might figure he's probably on the right track. But even with their racing schedule, I see it. I've watched my brother-in-law was a professional motocrosser as well. So we've been around motorsports our whole life. But the point was, like, at the track or wherever it is, there's a community, and the support is always great with motorcycling, I think. And it's always family oriented, and you see kids at every age and all through the generations, with grandfathers and grandparents, and all the way down to little bitty kids. So starting them off on now I guess the Stasics and stuff like that. But it's really cool. It's given back to my family. Motorsports have been great to my family, and we'll continue that. And I've just loved later this last, I don't know, 12 years, I've really been involved in doing the Team 44 stuff, and with all these guys that, like Eddie, and our families are coming close together, and we ride with our kids, and it's just been really great stuff.
It's funny because I think people from the street don't realize how family oriented the off-road stuff is. So after hanging out in the racing community, that's something that I kind of wish could kind of filter over to the street riders a little bit, because it's infectious with the way that it ties the whole family in. So I like that.
A little harder to bring kids out on street bikes, though. There's that pesky driver's license thing.
You got a seatbelt for your kid on the back of yours, right?
I mean, I live in Georgia, not Kentucky or Ohio or even Tennessee.
Eddie, what kind of weapons you got parked in the garage, man?
Right now, it's just a KTM 300 with a plate on it. It's that adventurous dual sport plated dirt bike.
You sound like you don't get too afraid of the pavement with that thing, though. Most guys are bemoaning riding on the pavement, but it seems like you don't care.
No, I don't care. I had the 4-stroke for a while that had the plate on it, and that's the traditional go-to for the pavement, because of the 2-stroke not being designed for long stretches on pavement. But no, I joke that you buy those to be light and nimble and be able to get through the woods and the tight stuff. But then I add everything else to it to basically defeat the purpose of it. But with a few modifications, it can quickly be nimble again. But no, I've definitely added up some miles in the last few years with it.
We should do a weigh-in at Renfro this year. I'd like to see the weights of some of these bikes now, the 300s. Especially,
you have to get a large tank on them now, and then you've got it. I want to be self-sufficient, so I want to have the tube, the tools, the pack on it.
Chainsaws.
Yes, chainsaws.
Don't be casting stones. I was wearing my chainsaw yesterday. Like, it is a necessary thing, and anywhere there's ash trees.
We do it a lot. A matter of fact, we're in the middle of it right now. I'm just coming off of shoulder surgery, so I've missed out on some of the fun this early spring. I know we've had some beautiful sunshine days, but Eddie's been out there. We're already into the trail maintenance and trail checking stuff out and whatever for Renfro, and it takes a lot of weeks leading up to it. And we call it the week of it, we call it Power Week. We're there every day, like leading up, out on the trail, marking stuff, whatever. But it takes a lot of weekends before that too. And whenever we can sneak up there or down there.
So Drew, and I think you'll appreciate this. One thing that I've learned is you can drop waypoints where work needs to take place. So you go out there and you scout like I do, live with it being in my backyard, and then I can let everyone else know where the trees are down, where the work needs to happen.
The
So
bearer of bad news.
When your job is handing out the jobs, that's
yes,
pretty rad.
yeah. So
That's a good segue. So tell the listeners, what is Renfro Valley Dual Sport?
Well, the Renfro Valley Dual Sport's probably been around for over 30 years. I mean, it's been a kind of a staple for dual sporting, I think, and it's kind of famous in Kentucky. But we get a lot of people from all over the place. But I think originally, I might have this history a little bit off, but I think originally Scott Summers Mechanic was one of the first guys to kind of seek it, kind of find some of that stuff and put it together. And the guy that we have been kind of segued into is Paul Jordan, the Jordan family. So Paul is one of the original guys, the OGs of that, and he was in that with some of those guys that kind of first put it together. And he was gracious enough, to approach some of us a couple of years ago about continuing on, because he was just kind of a little bit aging out of it. Honestly, just and just a natural progression of like I was mentioning, like we talked about a little before, it's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of physical maintenance, and you got to get down there and spend time with the landowners and shake hands and make sure things are correct. And it's a lot of work. And he and his whole family did a wonderful job of putting it on and hosting it for many, many years. And so they kind of asked us a couple of years ago if we would consider it, and it really worked out well. We kind of had a transition year 2 years ago, and then last year was the first year that we fully took on the event. It's a mixture of pavement. There's a lot of single track, a lot of stuff that's really, it's only open this one specific time of year, which is really makes it special. Like I said, it's the special permissions we have to get from the landowners and stuff to unlock some of these routes, and the tracks are really cool. And that area is, when I was a kid, you always heard about Livingston. Mm-hmm. There's an area just a little bit south of there that we actually get close to, and we touch it a little bit with the Renfro Valley Dual Sport. But that was a very famous riding area in the 70s and 80s, off-road area, and then it got a little bit too wild, a little out of control. There's a lot of great stories there, but there's also some very terrible stories that came out of that area from, people just partying too much, and it kind of ruined it for everyone. And they actually ended up doing away with it and kind of really policing it or whatever. But the reason that was so famous, I think, and why it was so such a big deal is because that area, the terrain is so cool. There's a lot of natural arches. There's a lot of sandstone and creek crossings, and just beautiful geography and points of interest that make it really interesting. So that alone is worth getting out and seeing. And then, when we took over the thing a couple of years ago, as a group, we had an emphasis on trying to give back to the community and also make it a charitable event. So we are focused in on the volunteer fire departments that are along the route. That we Sand Gap is one of those, and Livingston, and also Climax, and we also have partnered with the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame, because they've been a great partner with helping us have a place to run our registration and run a lot of admin out of, and just kind of a central base to kind of house everything under one roof, so to speak. They've been a great partner. And then Rock Castle High School, and with the music program, we've been giving back to that as well. So we wanted to give back to the community. We always go shake hands with the landowners, and we're so thankful for them, and they love the idea that we're giving back to the fire departments and stuff like that too. And it really makes a difference. These checks that we're handing out to the fire departments, it helps them buy equipment that they don't always receive grants for, or things like that. They're small, little fire departments, and they really appreciate it, and we appreciate them. They take care of us too. They're also the first responders to anyone that has a problem on the trail, or if someone, God forbid, needs to have assistance getting out of there. Those are the guys that are coming to pull you out. So it's good to take care of the people that take care of us. We've been highly emphasized on that, and we'll continue to do that as we grow and continue to progress and turn this thing into what we have, the vision that we have for it.
So, what's the actual headquarters location then for the event?
The Kentucky Music Hall of Fame.
That's the actual start location.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Where is that for those that don't automatically just know?
So that is actually in Renfro Valley, Kentucky. So Renfro Valley is actually a music destination. It was it was kind of like a poor man's Kentucky version of the Grand Ole Opry back in the day, a long time ago. And there's a music venue there, and they used to broadcast a radio show out of there as well, in this little venue, and it turned into a stage. And so traveling musicians would come there, and they would kind of just set up shop for a couple of days, and people would come to concerts. And so it turned into a venue. And so later on, the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame established a brick and mortar building there, and they do displays of all the famous, Kentuckians that have contributed to not only country music, but just music in general.
That's
and
cool.
it's actually a really good tour to walk through there and take a look at all the history and lineage of music. And that's how that was my tie-in, because I'm a musician, and I used to work with them on doing events and fundraisers many years ago. And I've always been very heavily involved with philanthropy and stuff in Kentucky, and trying to help out with people that are in need, with communities and stuff. I've just always had a passion for that. It's just kind of my heart. And the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame has always been a good catalyst for that, for us to get in as music programs across the state, especially in the Eastern Kentucky area. And so it was a natural partnership when I kind of got involved with the dual sport and with the location and knowing those people. And Jessica over there has been fantastic to us, and letting us take over her building and their land every year, so we can have a great place to run a registration and stuff like that. So they're a great partner.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was there.
I got schooled just now, which also makes me have to
Make
ask.
Make a note.
Do you do any bluegrass covers?
Oh yeah, I've been known to do that occasionally.
Excellent.
Yeah, I like some bluegrass for sure.
It's grabbed me a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more of a pop country most of the time and rock and roll, but every now and then I'm like, yep, I can do that. That's definitely the thing. The banjo there's got me sucked in.
You guys should see his Taylor Swift screensaver he's got. It's pretty rad.
Hey, she has a song about me. I can't help it. Don't get mad at me, but she specifically has a song about me.
Well, I'll be guessing which song it is.
It's Tears on My Guitar.
Okay, cool.
She said, Drew looks at me. It's specifically in the song. How have we never talked about this before?
You've lost me, but I'll take your word for it, my friend.
I like how you dined me out on Taylor Swift and didn't know I knew the words.
I'm shocked right now. I have to question everything I knew about you at this point, but that's fair.
All right, podcast derailed. Sorry about that, guys.
Well, getting back to the location, that also it's really handy and convenient for Renfro Valley, because it's, a half a mile, if that, off the Interstate 75. So you can be within camping and where you're going to head out to the trail. As soon as you get off the interstate, it's very convenient. There's gas, there's motels. It's a nice little community. The actual town or community that's really associated with it is Mount Vernon, Kentucky. And so, yeah, that's where it actually, kind of the headquarters for the whole county, everything that's going on. Anything more is there. There's only the music venue, a few stores, the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame, a few little touristy things in the Renfro Valley community itself. But Mount Vernon has been very good to us as well. So Rockcastle County, Kentucky, we also get into some other parts of, you get close to Estree, which a lot of people are familiar with that area as well. It's one of the designated Kentucky riding areas, along with Redbird, which we don't quite get to Redbird, but we're all very familiar with Redbird and Estree. So it kind of stays in its own little quadrant, a little bit west of the Holler and a little bit north of Redbird, and it has its own little thing that it doesn't quite get up into the Richmond or Lexington area or whatever. We stay south of Berea, but it's 100 miles each day basically of trail and pavement combined, and it's challenging. I mean, we decided, it used to be there were like three kind of categories or trail ratings that they did, and we decided to consolidate it because into two different ratings for us. It was just easier for sweep and to also convince some of the riders either you're one or the other. You're either an expert or you're not. So we get a lot of guys that want to bite off a little more than they can chew, and it honestly there's some very challenging, tough terrain. Especially depending on the weather. A lot of the the locals and the people that have attended it many times before, we all know it very passionately as Rainfro, because Renfro is often it's always the first weekend of May, which is also the Kentucky the Kentucky Derby is always the same weekend. And if you've ever seen that on television, you've seen that it's in the rain a lot. Well, our ride is in the rain a lot, which we like and we embrace it. Yeah. It's awesome. It can be tough on the trail itself sometimes, and we try to rotate in and out some of the specific trails so we don't get things too rutted up. But Mother Nature always takes care of herself and heals back within about a year anyways. But that really changes the trail rating a lot. You can take something that's kind of what we call a main, and you add a lot of rain to it, it gets slick and becomes a whole different thing very quickly. So we really encouraged and talked about, and with our riders meetings and stuff, I usually do all the riders meetings in the mornings, and I just really emphasize and remind people that, if you're not an expert and if you have a question at all about any kind of terrain, then you should just stay on the main. Don't try the expert, because it just makes it hard on yourself, and it makes it hard on us too. We have to come out and sweep people and make sure that people are out of there and safely and whatever. So we want people to have the best time, and I think you're going to have a better time if you stay within your skill level and not be trying to drag your bike out or your buddy's bike out of there. It can be deep in the woods, and there's a lot of bailouts and stuff close to some of the roads, but some of it is deep back in there, and you're once you're committed, you're committed. So
that's what I wanted to tie in with is lots of folks I hang out with like to ride Red River Gorge area, and it's fun. I mean, and I love it. But man, once you start getting south into Rockcastle County, like it just feels so much more remote. I mean, you might feel remote on, Walker Creek, Fincastle when you're there, but once you've spent time in Rockcastle County, like there's nobody coming for you. Like know that now.
You're right.
Obviously, at the dual sport event, that's a different story. But I'm like, when you're out there by yourself on public stuff, like there's some pretty sketchy, just straight public stuff out there that's really rugged.
Absolutely. Eddie knows about it. I mean, Eddie and I, we're the nerd mapper guys. We love to map and we love to scout, and that's kind of the things that we've really gotten into over the last couple of years. And I was kind of the sole guy doing that for our team a few years ago until Eddie got back with us, and it's really been a joy having him, because our wives make fun of us because we'll just be geeking out on, sharing our screens and looking, at all these trails. Well, we could try this, and we try to piece it all together, but it's so exciting for us, and I love putting it together, and I think he might even have the bug worse than me at this point. So he's really into it as well, and we're always putting together different kinds of adventure bike rides and dual sports, and just looking at off-road in general, trying to find new places. And that's kind of the thing about this whole segment of how we like to ride. It's the challenge of finding new things and seeing new stuff and having new experiences. So it's been great.
Yeah, go ahead, Eddie.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, between weather and pavement and them paving some gravel county road, everything evolves all the time. So you're constantly trying to stay in the game.
That's right.
Yeah. And and even the pavement is the sections aren't that long, but they're beautiful. And then they can be challenging them in themselves depending on the weather. But the main section is going to take you through not only good riding, but just beautiful scenery. I mean, there's some really nice points of interest along the way. I mean, the natural arches, the stuff that you see in the gorge is present there. It's just lesser known. A lot of waterfalls, natural waterfalls and caves and that sort of thing. So just if you have the opportunity when you're on the main trail, take in the beauty when you can, because it's no joke either. It's plenty challenging depending on the bike you're on, the creek crossings. I mean, some of the stuff that you have to navigate just during the main sections are you're going to have your hands full. So it's
Every year, that's our biggest thing is like, is this main or is this expert? We always are like, I don't know. I mean, so if we put something in new, like we're always trying to figure it out. And sometimes we do some role playing, be like, okay, if I was on this bike with a really terrible tire and a blah, 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 then what would I be, because you kind of have to average it down and sometimes think about it. And, it changes. That area changes so much, as you guys know, but the weather is so key to that.
I don't want to jump on Drew's toes here or anything, so tell me if I'm jumping the gun here at all, but I'm really curious about the route and how you guys actually put this together. Like, as somebody who's not been to this event myself, I have many friends that actually come from Atlanta to go there, so I'm familiar with the whole idea of it. Are you guys repeating the same route every year? It sounds like you're adding new stuff, taking stuff away. I'm interested in how much of this is on private land, because you've mentioned that a few times, working with private landowners. Like what are we getting into here, And the private landowners thing really interests me. Like, are we talking 2 private landowners? Are we talking, 20 guys that have had, farmland for the last 16 generations? Or, paint me a picture of what this whole thing looks like. Is that fair? Is that jumping on you, Drew, too much?
Nope, it's perfect question. Hit it.
I'll tackle that a little bit. So for us, like I would say this, like it's a good combination. It's probably, I don't know what the percentage would be, but there's more landowners involved than you would imagine. And
Okay.
those are lifetime and relationships that the Jordan family had developed, and then we have been lucky enough that we can continue, and we have, we promise respect, and we take care of, them the best way we can, with reminding our riders to stay the trail.
Mm-hmm.
And not be making new trails, don't be going out and just trailblazing or whatever. Like, so we have special permissions, and we really emphasize that at registration, and we're doing our registration online this year, a little different too. It's always kind of been in person, but that in itself has always been a logistical kind of hurdle, just trying to deal with everyone in person. We have a lot of riders. We get it's a big event. It's a very big event. I hate to discuss numbers too much, but there's a big number of riders. People show up very enthused. They come from all over America. We get riders from Idaho, from Missouri, from New York, upstate New York, Georgia, all across the South, of course. But we see a lot of riders from everywhere, and because the trail is so good. And like I was saying, it's special because we get this permission from all these guys, and we unlock this track, this route every year, and we have to change it. There's a disgruntled landowner that, it may change hands. It could be a divorce that causes it, or a family squabble, or you never know what can change some of these things. So, but we try to find, we might have something in our back pocket that we have to implement. And Eddie and I will get together and we try to figure out a way to get over to this section, because we got to get rid of this one for various reasons. Last year we had to scramble at the last moment because of the torrential downpour. So Sunday's rain was so substantial on Saturday that we had to change our entire route basically on Sunday. That morning, it was quite a scramble. We saw it coming, but there was one river crossing that was just a no-go. I mean, we sent a vehicle down that had 35s on it, and it was lifted, and he said nope. And so that we knew that right away that there's no motorcycles going across it if he didn't want to go across in the Jeep that was the lifted Jeep. So that stuff that hits us, and last year was tough because we got hit with a lot of things like that, some things in registration that but it was the first year that we kind of had full control. So I felt like it was a great beta test for us to figure out a lot of these things. And our team is very versed on it now. So we know how to handle a lot of things and pivot pretty quickly, which is great. Onyx Off-Road has been very helpful for us, for Eddie and I, putting together the stuff, and honestly, he kind of, you heard him say roll chart at the beginning, and I don't even know if he knew what a roll chart was 3 years ago, but it's funny because the roll charts, they are great. It really does work, and it's very accurate. And if it's done correctly, it's awesome. But it also is it's old school, and I think there's a lot of people that don't enjoy that and don't want to do that, and they want to see it, in more of a digital format. And I'm probably one of those people, and I've kind of advocated for that. But we didn't want to lose control of the trails and have them be posted and whatever. So we've worked very closely with Onyx about, those trails, kind of disappearing after we in the folder. And there's different ways to take care of that. And it's only to protect it for everyone. It's not,
Right.
We're not doing that to upset anyone, and we're not trying to take away whatever, but it just, if we show up at these with these landowners, sometime in August or in October or July, when they're not expecting people to cross their properties or whatever, then they're going to be upset, and then it shuts it down for everybody. So they know it's coming in May, and they know that we start riding there a little bit before May to check the trails, to clear, and make sure things are, safe for motorcycles to go through, especially the main. The experts, we leave a little harder, and, there's going to be a lot of log crossings and a lot of gnarly stuff that you got to, deal with. But we want to make sure that the main is safe for people to have a good day, a couple of days. But the landowners, they give us special permission to go in and do this. That's what makes this event so unique, and we're proud of that. But yeah, the numbers and stuff, they kind of vary every year. It depends on how much rain is there. But we've seen, I'll say it this way: every campground and every motel within 15 miles is usually full. So we're already at our capacity. We're really close to our capacity right now. The number that we have in our head to cut it off, and we've had an early bird pricing going. You know what I mean? People are taking advantage of it. I think the word's getting out that we want it to do it more online. It just helps us with the logistics on planning.
Yeah.
It's just hard to wait till the day of, because people watch the weather and they whatever. And so I understand that. I've been a weather watcher myself, but you just got to understand this event is rain or shine. You show up, you ride, and you have a great time. And if you can't show up for the last second, we'll try to figure out a way to get your money back. But it's also a donation. We're just giving back to the community. So a lot of people are very cool about that. They're like, hey, just keep my donation. That's all it is. You know what I mean? So it helps the volunteer fire departments. It helps the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame. It helps the local communities and the Rock Castle High School. We're helping them with their music program. We're trying to do things that are, entrenched right there in the community that make a difference and move the needle. So, and it helps to keep the trails open too, because the community people like that. They see that we're helping right there. We're not taking that money back out and doing something else with it. We're putting it right back into the trails and whatever, the camping, buying fuel, buying groceries, all the stuff that we do right there in those communities. And I think that's going to be the key thing going forward. What we were talking about earlier with Eastern Kentucky in general for, off-roading is, taking care of the landowners, making sure that all the local stores and stuff, you're spending your money there if you go there to spend your tourism dollar, because that's where the people will see that it's making a difference, and then they will embrace it and want you to come back.
But I'm glad you made that comment. I want to tie on to that. I think that's one of the things that the motorcycle community, we need to work on, is everybody seems like super non-committal. They want to make the decision the Friday before the Saturday ride. And understand, for organizers, that's a disaster. I'm a guy who holds a free event, does ride days. It doesn't impact me a whole lot, but for a lot of other people, they've paid for stuff. They're trying to make sure everybody has a good time. So yes, please be more committal. If you want to go, go. If you're not going to go, then don't show up at the last minute, please.
I want to back up and talk a little bit about the technology. Chad, the word roll chart has came up a couple of times, and Chad's exactly right. I didn't even know what a roll chart was a few years ago, and I don't know if if it's that common anymore. But one of the things that this is my opinion of it, the roll chart to me is It's unique in itself because it's kind of a challenge. It's fun to follow the roll chart, like even though it's antiquated, like it's on a piece of paper, and that part of it. And then there's the folks that have been riding for years and like it. And then you introduce new technology, which is really, what I'm passionate about as far as coming home and looking at where I rode and where I want to go ride, but how it really impacts the ride itself and the benefit of using the technology that we have today is whenever we had to make an adjustment last year because the creek was too high to cross, as Chad mentioned, all of the OnX users, we just went in and updated that folder with the alternate route. So there was nothing that they had to worry about as far as navigation. They had the updated, we took out of the section, we created the bypass, where the roll chart users, it was on black and white, it was paper. So those folks, you had to manage that group of riders to say, you can't follow the roll chart on Sunday because it's wrong. Whereas you can literally right up into the last minute make any necessary changes. So whenever, back to Mark's question about how you build the route and you look at that, like there's the base layout of Saturday's route and Sunday's route. And then we come up with ways of what if happens here, what if happens there. And then the night before or the morning of, you can go in and modify that route, tell everybody to refresh their folder that they're working out of, and voila, they have the route that they can follow that day. So using technology to that advantage is huge with an event like this, to be able to have something that you can update literally on the split of seconds.
I think that's a great point personally, because I think we're kind of in this weird period of time where old tech and new tech is kind of converging, right? And so it's almost like you're going to have to assimilate at some point. And Drew and I joke about being, Luddites on this show all the time, although we are both navigation nerds. So that's the exception, right? And it's like, I fought it for a long time, dude. I never wanted to learn how to load a freaking GPX file. But if you're going to go to any of this stuff, you've just got to be able to figure it out, and there's so many different ways to do it now. So it'd be nice if you mentioned OnX, I'd really love to see one of these apps just percolate to the top and just go, okay, this is the way that it's done, and make that's more seamless for the old guys. Because I have used roll charts. I mean, I've used roll charts, and I'm the GPS guy, So trying to get those old school guys who frankly don't want to change to understand that, yes, dude, there are actual benefits to this. And you just gave a prime example, Eddie. I've never actually heard it put out that way. So I definitely appreciate you jumping in with that. That was an awesome explanation of that whole thing, Drew.
We undoubtedly have listeners that don't know what a roll chart is, so I need you guys to make sure you define that.
Well, here's what's funny, because this is how much of I can say this, we're childhood buddies. This is how much of a nerd he is about mapping, Eddie. I gave him some old roll charts just for fun, and he converted them. Like, it's like he is like literally converting. Like, I give him. So roll charts are basically turn-by-turn navigation on a piece of paper that is cut down about this narrow, and it literally winds up onto your handlebars as a piece of paper, and you twist it and roll it to look at the next direction that's coming up. And there's resets, there's all kinds of little things that you have to do, and there's mileage and turns and arrows, and it all is on this little thing, and you have to read it. So, and it comes in. Moose makes one. Like, there's different people that make a roll chart holder that goes on your handlebars, and you have to physically turn it and roll it across to see what the next direction is. So, but I have sent Eddie some old routes that I have found for different things, and we have gone in. Not we. He has gone in and typed them in and literally put them into OnX, and so we could see them, because we're always working on new routing and how we can connect different things. And we're talking about different types of rides and doing different, theme type things that we got working for the future. So it's funny to see how that all works, because I wanted to bring it into the future, and there is some resistance. You know, you're going to find some guys, but what we have found, just like anything in life, you're never going to please everyone. There's going to be people who are going to be upset about the roll charts. There's going to be people that are upset about the GPS, and then there's people that are upset about certain brands of GPS. They don't want to use, you know, everybody has their favorite, but at some point as an organizer, we just have to pick something and go with it, and it becomes the way that we do it. And then people can either adapt or they don't have to. I mean, we suggest it, we highly recommend it because it really works, and we've proven it on the trail. We've gone out and done these things. We have put him to the test, and it works really well. And we got a couple. I've got one guy. We've got another guy on our team that's one of our captains. He's not an Onyx guy. He still goes old school. He loves Garmin, and he has to put it in. But that's just his. He likes it that way, and that's fine. But we tell people that I'm like, you can figure out a way to do it another way if you want to. But this is the way that we have to do it as an organizer and the host of the event.
Eddie, have you looked at DMD2 yet?
Dude, I was just about to ask that.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I did finally bite the bullet, and I have an Android device with both OnX and DMD on it. I have got some test routes loaded up. I haven't even shared that with Chad yet. We talked about it. He knew that.
Breaking
he knew
news.
that look, that's right. So this weekend, I'm actually gonna run them side by side to compare. That I think DMD offers some really next level stuff as far as the actual navigation part of it. The route building, OnX does a really good job of giving you the tools you need to put stuff together, and not only to build the route, but while you're in the field, so to speak, while you're I mentioned dropping waypoints where trees were down, but the technology is there. You can take pictures of it. You can and then I like to ride alone as well. It's a great safety feature to have your breadcrumb trail of where you are. OnX is introducing group rides, and but to get back to your question, I'm putting DMD to the test this weekend. I'm anxious to finally have it on my handlebars and see what it looks like.
Have you seen the Rally Road Books feature that you can go with on that?
Yes.
Yeah, cool stuff, man. I haven't played with it myself yet. I got a DMD too, and I'm still working through the I'm a Mac and Apple guy, have been since 1997 when I went to graphic design school. There you go.
Eddie's raising his
for
hand.
me to switch to Android, it's like, oh man, but it's the grass is pretty goddamn green over there, dude. So yeah.
Yeah. And I it's interesting because we've all spoke about it. Chad talked about how important it is to respect the landowners, and that that's what makes this ride we're talking about unique. So you want to protect that information, but then at the same time you want to grow the sport. You want to grow the community. You want them to know that there are places to ride and explore. So there's a very fine line of how much can you put out there for folks to publicly consume, and how much gets shared different ways through events and that sort of thing. So that's something that I still struggle with that today, is because I get all excited about Chad's the first person I'll reach out to and be like, oh, you've got to, we've got to go explore this. It's all public property, but then you don't want to ruin it. You want to share it with everyone, but then at the same time, you don't want it to blow up. So it's something that I struggle with.
We all struggle with that, dude. It's the balancing act that anyone who's ever led a group ride has to deal with. And Drew knows. I've told this story 100 times. I mean, I've read huge, not huge compared to what you guys are doing, but 100 people, 125 people rides, and personally seen trails and roads here shut down that I know I've brought 100 people through. Yeah. And sometimes wonder myself, did I have a part to play in that road system getting closed? We all have to consider that at some point.
We do. Yeah. It's tough, and it's a constant battle with other segments of off-roading, with the Jeep guys and the side-by-side guys, horse riding, horse trails and hiking and mountain biking. I mean, we deal with this out west as well. I'm part of an event that goes on out there, and it's constant, like but I think there's enough room for everyone on the trails, and the dirt bikers get a bad rap. You know what I mean? Like it's really unfortunate because I feel like dirt bikers really are the ones that are hands-on, usually out there, clearing the trails, maintaining the trails, doing all these things. And we've had a few hikers approach us and the mountain bikers through the years to be like, thank you. They see that we're the ones with the chainsaws and getting and bringing in some center blocks and helping out with the erosion and changing the trail so it's not so rutted and blah blah blah. So we're conscious of it, and we try to be, our group is hyper conscious of it. We think about it a lot, not only in Kentucky but wherever we ride. And I think everyone needs to be on everyone's radar. If you're riding a dirt bike, it's the same thing as going through a neighborhood, and there's speed bumps, you got to slow down if there's children at play signs or whatever, but it's the same thing on the trails. We got to respect it. We got to stay on the right trail. Don't trailblaze, and just know that there are restrictions, and, landowners, it's a sensitive subject, it really is. And we've got to take care of the landowners, and we got to take care of the land when we're out there too. And, I'm a big trash guy too. Like, I can't stand to see trash and whatever. And dirt bikers are usually not the ones that do that. I will say, like, I own a side by side. I've done a lot of side by siding in my life, and I really enjoy doing that with with my wife, and we'd take the kids and stuff when they were little, and we did that a lot. But we always carried a trash bag, and I would pick up trash whenever I'm on the trail. But usually if you're a dirt biker, you don't have a whole lot of room to carry in the trash to even throw it out. But we got to take care of these things, and especially if you're riding if a state is hosting you and you're a guest in that state or in another region, then it's really key to go above and beyond, I think, to make sure that you're respecting and making sure that your whole group is.
Yeah, it's funny. I said that the other day that obviously lots of people listen to podcasts know my opinion about side-by-side situation, that there's unfortunately a small percentage of people that are really create major issues with this. And I think the dirt bike community is the same, unfortunately, that most of them are super passionate, want to take care of things, and are happy to have things open. Unfortunately, there's enough teenagers that are kind of ruining it for some of us, unfortunately.
It happens. I mean, it happens to us. I can bring it home as for RVDS, Renfro Valley, for us, like, it's constant. We find this wonderful single track, and we come back 3 weeks later, and it's, it looks like a Jeep road because the side by sides have found it, and they decide to just take it over. And it's a constant battle. So so I understand the secretive part of sometimes when people are very secretive about trails and giving out information and not wanting it to be on the digital and getting it out there on the internet. And I understand that and respect it, but I also feel like that we can, with enough communication and with people doing the right thing, that we can police ourselves and figure it out, and we don't have to restrict the trails and keep everyone out just because of a few bad eggs.
We've covered a lot of topics here, and I think Eddie touched on earlier. Can you give us some of the highlights of the event? Obviously, we're talking about the trails, but can you mention some of the stuff people should definitely look forward to?
For it, Eddie.
Well, I'll start by saying that the community looks forward to it because there's actually stands. There's a couple of places along the trail where families come out and they have coolers and drinks and so forth. So that's one highlight that you'll be able to see is the community. There's a lady that always displays all of her T-shirts over the years that's out there. So it's nice to see that the community is very receptive, as we talked about a little bit earlier. But I think some of the points of interest would be just taking in the beauty there. Is, it sounds, I'm talking about, getting older and being a little bit more sentimental, but someone that grew up in Eastern Kentucky that just kind of took it for granted and has lived in different places of the country and come back and to be able to see some of the beauty that the land has in that area. So you're going to experience roads that you aren't going to realize are county roads that are public. They're going to look like you're going through somebody's farm, but it's truly a county road that is connecting. You're going to get to, as we've talked about, explore private farms that have single track on them that only get ridden this time of the year. For folks that have ridden some at the hauler, I will tell folks that it's kind of like riding the hauler for 10 or 15 miles, pulling out of the parking lot, going down the road 5 miles, and then riding another hauler that, is going to show you the same view, the rock formations, some of the natural arches. So it's just piecing that all together. But if you are up for hard enduro expert sections, there's expert sections that you're gonna feel like you're at the Ergsburg Rodeo for a short period of time. I mean, you're navigating some rock features and going up and down some tight turns. You're going to experience some of the Daniel Boone, what borders the Daniel Boone near Estuary. That's going to offer up some of the creek crossings that you see if you're in that part of the section. So there's a little bit of, and as I mentioned, the main section itself is going to be challenging enough. But what I like to tell folks is you've got to focus on riding. I mean, you want to be safe and ride, but try to stop and take in the beauty, because 95% of the ride is just beautiful country that we live in.
True. And this year, we're doing we're doing more of a kickoff dinner now. Like, we're going to have open, dinner for everybody, and we'll do some stuff like that, which is really cool to get everybody together. Everybody can talk about motorcycles and whatever. Last year, we were lucky enough to have Scott Plessinger was there and did like a little podcast on site. We've got a couple people that professional racers, from one retired Brock Helpler from Enduro Engineering, and also I'm just totally forgot her name.
Podcast brain's a real thing. Don't sweat it.
Sorry. Yeah.
We all do it.
She's going to do a women's clinic that day as well. And so we've got a couple of really cool things to add that day that we're trying to do every year, improve and bring different things to the riders and the participants. And it's a lot of fun. It takes a lot of effort to put it together. I mean, it's a lot of riders. It's a big deal, and we've got a fantastic team of guys and girls that we put all our wives to work on the registration and helping get people through as quickly as possible and to sign their waivers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, but we really enjoy it. Our team, like I was saying, there's about 12 of us that we get together a lot leading up to this ride. And we spend, a lot of time together, and it's a lot of fellowship. And that's some of the best times of my life, honestly, is getting together with these guys and telling stories and giving each other a hard time and talking about the trails, talking about bikes, talking about gear, well, all that, so it's a great time. And I just love that motorcycles have brought us all together, and that's important in my life for sure.
You touched on a couple of things I want to make sure that we cover. You were talking about food. So you guys are going to host dinner the night before? Is there other food opportunities that people need to be prepared for? Do they need to bring cash for food on different times of day or throughout the weekend, or how's that work?
Yeah, so the local fire departments I was telling you about, the volunteer fire departments, they help us do a couple of stops for during the day for lunch, and they really take good care of us with good trail food. You know what I mean? You're not going to get a filet mignon out there, but we're gonna feed everybody really well, and there's plenty to eat. And each we have that stop. It'll be a lot of signage and where to go, and people understand. And we always encourage people, like at the riders meeting every morning, we really want people to ride together in a group, and we hate to see people riding solo. You can, but we encourage people to make friends. Get in with a group that the skill levels are about the same, or you can take care of each other. I love that too. Like, hey, if you got one guy that's the tool guy that carries the tools, one guy that's got a little extra fuel, you got one guy that's really good at mechanic and whatever. So then you got your things, a good navigation guy. You know what I mean? We always tell people. Eddie and I definitely say this at the riders meetings. If you don't have OnX and you don't like it, you better ride with somebody that does. You know what I mean? So I think it's important, and, get that person in your group, in your friend group. But the food, yeah, we have the volunteer fire departments take care of us during the day, and then people are on their own on Saturday night. But Friday night we'll have dinner provided for participants. And what was I going to say?
Let me recap. So it's
Yeah.
it's dinner Friday, breakfast and lunch Saturday, and then Saturday night it's on your own.
People are on their own for breakfast, but we
Okay,
do
so it's just lunch.
Yeah, just lunch each
Lunch
day.
Sunday as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting hungry. I just gotta say right now.
It's dinner time.
Go ahead, Eddie.
And something else I'll add about the route itself. It is a loop. It's not a clover leaf. And whenever you leave, you're returning anywhere from 80 to 100 plus miles later, depending on how many expert sections that you take on. And there are gas stops that are planned along the way. Now, as Chad mentioned, it's never a bad idea to have some extra fuel just in case, because of the unknown. You may get to the a spot that you've got to bypass or turn around, that sort of thing that's unforeseen. It's not part of the route, but as planned, there are fuel stops in the appropriate places, less than 50 miles, and even the newer two strokes can usually get to about 50 miles, but they're in somewhere from 30 to 40 miles or fuel stops that are along the way. The lunch stops are along the way. And back to the navigation part, that is on the roll chart, as well as the OnX, the waypoints, the fuel stops, the lunch stops, and the points of interest. I mean, if it's a natural arch, or if it's something that's of significance, it will be notated. A lot of folks don't take the time to actually look at the waypoint while they're riding. They're just trying to navigate. But that information is in there for those that want to study the folder and see what information's involved.
That is pretty cool that people could check the roll chart on the front end if they want to make sure they see the sites. They can get a highlighter or something like that. I guess I should ask that. Do you get the roll chart when you show up, or can you get it in advance, or how does that work?
We like to do it at the event,
Okay.
obviously for obvious reasons, that we don't want it, that's, we get a lot of questions about that. Can we get it in advance? But there's a reason why, we're trying to keep it somewhat in control, you know what I mean, without getting it too crazy out there on the internet, whatever, for various reasons, basically for the landowners' protection, for privacy and things like that. So that's important to us. And I just remembered Shelby Turner is who I was trying to remember.
Good catch. Yeah. It's for listeners who don't realize it, it's amazing. Once you hit the record button, like all of us lose the names of every person we've ever met. So
that's right.
It's a wild phenomenon that happens. So please give podcasters and their guests some grace, because it's pretty rough sometimes.
I got to ask you guys a question about motorcycle selection for this event, because clearly it's Renfro Valley Dual Sport. As the owner of, sadly, one motorcycle, which is not a dual sport, rather an adventure bike. Okay, there's an expert section. Talk to me about the main route. Could I do that with some level of talent or skill on an adventure bike with some good tires? Or is this like, no, dude, you're an idiot. Don't even consider that. You know what I mean? Clearly that's a very wide net that I just cast.
Okay, let's ask, you said good tires. What's a good tire? That's
the
very
obvious DOT tire that I can bring.
Shinko MX216. No, Shinko MX216.
Yeah.
That is the most aggressive DOT tire you can buy.
Yeah, let's just say in a very aggressive DOT adventure tire. You're hemming and hawing, which pretty much gives me my answer already.
I don't know your
through
skill level at all.
I suck.
Obviously, you know what I mean? So I have no idea. You could be an A rider and fantastic. I just don't know.
Do guys show up on adventure bikes and have fun?
Yes, I have seen people have a great time on an adventure bike with the proper tires and the proper skill level, and not in torrential downpour.
Yeah.
In disregard for their own well-being.
But it just depends. Even the main, like we were saying, honestly gets so slick and slimy, and so it just becomes I mean, we're talking, like I ride a 300 or a 350.
Yep.
I kind of go back and forth. It can get, I mean, the expert sections get really gnarly, and there's a few parts of the main that have to be main because we have to connect it. And a couple of them are something, you know what I mean? And you got to know what you're doing, and we tell, it's so subjective to
Of
say
course.
when people ask us that on the internet, it's so hard to forward those questions like, hey, can I do this? Whatever. It's like, I just don't know. That's what I tell people when they come to the event. If you have any doubts, don't even try the expert. So we used to have like a hero section, kind of a medium hard, and we had all these whatever. And so we would find these guys. They're like, oh, we just thought we would try it, and I'm like, that's not. Don't do that. Like, so now what we tell people, if you're going to try one of the experts, or what we call is really a hero, some of them are harder than others. We have them rated in our minds, and we know which ones. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, if you're determined to try one, to experiment because you want to test yourself or see where you are, or come talk to one of us, one of the captains, one of the organizers, the staff, whatever you want to call us. We'll tell you which one. And it depends on which part of the day. Are you tired and exhausted after lunch and you're ready to go home? That's probably not the time you need to go try one of the experts. You know what I mean? Like, if you're fresh in the morning, the first one that comes up, we always say that's probably the best one to try. That's when you're at your best, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Get out there and give it a go. You know what I mean?
Got some venom in your spit still.
That's right. So it just really depends. There's so many things about dirt biking or adventure biking or dual sporting. And I know that there's some about the verbiage and about how we talk about dual sporting. I know what it used to be and what people call it now. It's almost kind of like Eddie said, it's an excuse to have a pavement in between hard enduros. And it kind of turns into that, because I have to admit, our group, we look for the hardest stuff that we can ride possible. I mean, we do that in Colorado. We do that in Georgia. We do that in Tennessee, Ohio. Everywhere we go, our group, we're all, pushing each other to ride the hardest stuff. And that's okay. But we have to remember when we're hosting an event like this, that not everyone is like us, and we have to calm it down a little bit for the general public. And for safety reasons, and just so they will enjoy it. It's the same thing I go back to when you're trying to teach your kids something. Like, if you make it miserable, guess what? They're not going to want to do it anymore. So, I always tell people, like, on these expert sections, if you really think about, if you're really considering it, do it early, do it with the group that you can help each other, and come talk to us. We'll tell you which one's the right one for you and with your experience, and we'll try to feel it out and figure it out. But I would, can you have a good time on an adventure bike with pretty good knobbies? I hope they're pretty good knobbies. Yes. But if it rains a lot, no.
Oh. Maybe I'll just ride up and have a beer with you guys, and or you're drinking an late one, and I got to throw a shout out to that, because I know you're the real deal when you're drinking that joker right there.
That's right.
But maybe I'll just ride up, have dinner, and then go do my own thing and come back around and have dinner the next night.
But yeah, there's plenty of other places to ride, obviously, as you know, that for adventure bikes, the twisties, and there's a lot of pavement and gravel that is fantastic. And but yeah, this ride, the expert or hero sections are no joke. There's some that are legit.
That's good honesty.
I'm going to throw this out there. We'll see if this works. If you take the Renfro loop at S-Tree, how does the main route of the rest of the main route on the dual sport compare to that? So if you used a scale of 1 to 10 to compare those two, is it possible to frame that for people listening that may have been to S-Tree before?
Yeah, I think so. I can take that, 'cause I'm familiar with the Renfro loop there. If you can navigate that loop, that's a pretty good comparison of what you would expect with the main. I mean, that's a 50-inch wide, OHV trail. So some of the actual Jeep section, or the riding, or the wider section of the main would maybe a little more difficult. But as far as the actual 2-track or the single track, I think that's a very fair comparison. If you can navigate the Renfro loop at S-Tree, I think you could navigate the main. There may be some longer stretches of hill climbs that come to mind. Mm-hmm. We don't have those pavers built into the like the Renfro loop has. So you take some of those out. There's typically not any log crossings with the main or any of any substance. But yeah, it again, like we've talked about, it comes down to the weather and the rain and what can happen. You just never know. It's a great unknown.
This is inside baseball, but for folks that are listening, you can ride Sheltoe Trace single track OHV from Turkey Foot to Estuary. So we ran adventure bikes down that last fall. Driest I have ever seen Kentucky. Had it been spring, I would have told those boys, have fun. I want nothing to do with that. So that is, yeah, it was a fun, difficult, challenging, but fun ride on an adventure bike last fall. But yeah, in the spring, like right now, forget it. Under no circumstances do I want any part of that.
Adventure bikes are fun, but they're big girls. They're big.
Big girls need love. True, Chad.
Woo!
True, Chad.
I ride adventure bikes a lot, and this is just a whole different animal. Like it's hard to explain. It's different. I really enjoy it though. There's a lot of things about it I really enjoy.
I love a good challenge on an adventure bike, but I also don't want to break a bunch of crap. So yeah. That's why I asked, man.
Yeah.
I appreciated the honesty on it.
Yeah.
It frames it up for people, because to me it sounds like, for the most part, you probably want a race heritage dual sport. That's probably the ideal machine to bring to this party, by the way you're talking about. If you're experienced, you know what you're getting into, so it's not a big deal. But if this is your first go around, to me it sounds like you want a plated dirt bike for the most part. Is that fair?
It's a good assessment.
Or or like a Montesa Coda 310R.
Yeah, I would not get upset about that.
Nope, me neither.
So what kind of evening activities should people look forward to?
There's always great camp stuff going on. I mean, this year, our little group, the host, Team 44, we're going to have kind of our own little area. We kind of always do. We've got, one of our captains is a fantastic chef. He takes care of us, and we always look forward to that. But we always get out and check out the campgrounds, and there's people having a great time from everywhere. I mean, it's amazing. There's people, it's dirt biking. It's dual sporting, adventure biking. There's community. There's people always talking about dirt bikes, always discussing gear and the trail that they just rode, or where they're going, or where's the best place to, explore. And, you get a little bit of all that. And there's really great people involved in the whole thing. And all the campgrounds are just bristling with energy. I mean, there's a lot of people everywhere, changing tires and working on bikes. And so people lending hands to do all those kinds of things. So it's a great atmosphere.
So is there camping directly on site, or is everybody just kind of got to find a place to stay? Okay.
There's camping directly right for the Renfro. So that music event venue that I was telling you about, they host national big concerts. So there's a huge parking lot that extends into also a huge campground that I'm not even sure how many spots. I'd say there's 250 camp spots there, and then there's also a KOA that's less than a mile away, and then there's several other campgrounds within 5 miles, and then there's several little motels in that area as well. So it does book up quickly. I mean, I would get, people need to get on it, and but there's usually always enough room. You know what I mean?
No, I like that.
Can I take us on a side quest for a second?
Please do, sir.
I have to, because it's been mentioned 10 times, and I keep waiting for you to ask, and you haven't. What is Team 44 Moto? Give us a brief summary, one of you, please.
So Team 44 Moto is a group of guys like that core 12 guys I was telling you about, that we're all similar in age, and we all kind of just ride together and we just come together as a group, and we ride these organized rides. Renfro Valley, we do the Colorado 500 out in Colorado. We ride in all our different private farms in Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana. We're just kind of all over the place, and we're just it's kind of like a little club, of these guys.
Gotcha.
And so we kind of do things as a group. And so the Renfro Valley Dual Sport, we kind of took it on as a group. So it's really Team 44, and I'm just one of the captains, and I'm one of the co-founders. And the name comes from my father-in-law, who passed away on a mountain bike in Colorado in 2017. His nickname was 444 because he was in the coal business and the coal miner, and that was his radio handle. So that's where that name comes from. And so we just adopted that. He's an old motocrosser from the 70s, and his son was a professional motocrosser. And now his grandson, my nephew, is very accomplished amateur and is on the path to be a very successful professional. And motorsports and stuff have just always been in my family, like I was mentioning before. So we really love motorcycles and fast cars and boats, anything with a motor, basically,
Sweet.
just one of those kind of people, and our
Hell
families
yeah.
are like that. So I took it and kind of branded it about, I don't know, 20 years ago, and just started kind of calling it Team 44, just to give us something to go by. And we just marketed. We don't really market it or anything like that, but
It's an unofficial nickname for your group of friends.
yeah, we have all our swag, and we all, we gear up every year and run graphics and our jerseys, and we try to have a, tribute, but also just for fun. And it's like a little 50-year-old, or a bunch of 50-year-olds, pretending to be a race team.
Dude, it's a dual sport Wild Hogs patch that
There
your
you
wife
go.
sewed on. I
That's
freaking
right.
love it, bro.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And what an awesome homage to your father-in-law as well. Drew,
Yeah.
we totally need something.
Yeah,
We got to do something. That's
you
cool.
guys need something.
I had to
I run a
ask, Chad.
cult.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
I run a
thank you
cult
for
every
asking.
fall. I'm not going to steal these guys' thunder with that.
Yeah, it's definitely a little cult, and we have a thread. And like I said, when we ride in Colorado, we pick up about 6 guys out there that join our group, and then when we go different places, like we've got a couple things on the bucket list. We're gonna go ride as a group. We're gonna try to go to Costa Rica here soon, and we're doing some. We have some other things circled. You know what I mean? That we're gonna do as a group, and
Hell yeah.
it's a lot of fun, and it's a great bunch of guys, and I'm just blessed to have them in my life.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks
Except
for the
Eddie.
side quest. Thanks for allowing that, Drew.
There's no good way to do it, right? When you're bringing in such awesome personalities with an interesting story about an event, it's like, all right, how do we unpack this so that it's digestible and make it
Well,
natural?
you know
That's
I
kind
like
of
a rabbit hole, bro.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I'll take
So
it, man.
No, it was on my list. It was just a matter of time. So if I sign up for the dual sport, can you do me a favor and paint me a picture of what to expect? So for people who've never been there before, to try to make it easier for them to know the process of what's going to happen. So they go online and they register. What happens next, and how does that flow into the point where they, hit the start button and start following the track?
Well, I think the first thing, and I always say this about any kind of ride, like the Colorado 500 or the Renfro Valley Dual Sport, is prep. I think you got to be prepped right. I mean, I kind of said that you see guys in the campground wrenching and doing some stuff, and some of that is okay, but don't wait till the last minute. I mean, prep your bike, have your stuff ready, have your gear ready, think about the weather. We put together a nice prep list on the website and on the social media that gives a great detailed list of what you should have, what you can expect. And if it's not with just on your own person, at least someone in your group, like I said, you can assign someone to be the navigation guy. Somebody's the guy that carries the tire spoons or whatever it is that you're doing. You know what I mean? You divvy out the responsibilities. And I think prep is the biggest thing. And just and know when you get there that we'll answer any question we can. We will help you through it. I mean, if you've never been, and in the motorcycle community, everybody helps everybody too, which is really cool. It's an open arms thing. People, you can jump into a group, and if you can't find one, we'll help you find somebody to ride with too. The registration should be a great, easy process. We've heard that already. That is really simple. It's fast. You get through, you sign your waivers, you're out the door, so you can go do something else, and you don't have to spend a lot of time in line. That's why we're trying to do it all online these days, to save everyone a lot of time and effort. You can expect to see some great riders on the trail too. You can learn from people. You'll see some people that are going to struggle, and you may have to help them. We encourage people to help people too. I think that's important. And you'll see all of our guys. We'll try to have something on that will, show that who we are. Something brightly colored that'll say Renfro Valley Dual Sport staff or something. I've got jerseys or something coming already, and we do T-shirts, and so you'll be able to pick us out, and you can grab a hold of us for any kind of questions. Expect to have a great time. Prep for rain. I always tell people, like, honestly, it's a thing, and it really, it's amazing. We still see people show up sometimes, and and they are not prepared for Kentucky rain. Is no joke. I mean, it can be a thing. So, you got anything, Eddie, you want to add to the
daily drivers or riders meeting in the morning? Yep. And then I think the first bike out is about 8 o'clock. Last bike at 10.
That's right.
So, and then there is a sweep crew that will run sweep. And
we usually have a police escort to help us start too. They're very, like I said, the community is very involved and they love it. So we start right on the pavement. And last year we had the Team 44 tent out there, and everybody just rode through it, and it was kind of like the starting point. And you ride some pavement to start off with, and if it's raining and it's early and in the morning, it's going to be a little cold. So leave your jacket on. And then when you get to the trail, you can take it off and figure it out. But the first trail is a pretty good little hill climb. It gets your blood going right away. And then you can choose at that point if you want to very quickly into the trail, that if you're going to choose the expert or main. And then at that point, you just kind of follow your way through the day. And it's a great thing, man. This trail is very special. If you've ridden Kentucky at all at Estuary or at Redbird or some other places like that, you'll understand the ground a little bit. But if not, if you don't know what to expect, then let that be your adventure. That's part of it. The unknown is fun.
So I show up 7 a.m., do the riders meeting on the trail by 10. I mean, I guess I should have said show up and then get to registration right away.
Yeah.
Are they going to
we'll do it.
A login for Onyx, or how does that work?
Go ahead, Eddie.
QR code. So we have posters throughout registration that you scan the QR code that will give you access to the folder. There will be a Saturday folder for Saturday's route and then a Sunday folder. And then, like I said, as we talked about earlier, we discovered this last year that the weather impacted the route, so we made changes, and you don't have to get another folder. You don't have to rescan anything. You just refresh your folder, and it's gonna magically alternate your route.
And people, when they register, you can sign up for both Saturday and Sunday, or one or the other. We like to see people sign up for both. Obviously, it just makes it easier, whatever. But I encourage people, if you were honestly going to attend, I would come Friday night and spend the night. So you're fresh in the morning. You get to come to the dinner. You get to, meet some new folks and hang out and be more relaxed and trying to come in straight the morning of. But We do have a lot of riders that come that morning. People get off work late on Friday and they don't feel like, dealing with it that night or whatever. But we open registration. I think last year we opened registration like at 2 o'clock on Friday or something. We're there, we're on site, so we'll figure it out. You come find us, or if you come to the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame, it's a big brick and mortar building. You won't miss it. We'll have a lot of signage up everywhere. We try to make it, foolproof on knowing where to be and what to do.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. And then what time should people, when you guys are doing sweep, what time do you make sure everybody's kind of off the track and back in toward the campgrounds?
We'd love to have people home at 5 o'clock, but it doesn't always happen, obviously. So, and if you can take care of yourself and whatever, that's one thing. Our group, we understand that we kind of take care of ourselves and we kind of police ourselves, so to speak. And we know that we can, in just about any situation, get our bikes and our group out of the trail, but that's not always the case. So we encourage people. We shoo a few people out of the trails all day. I mean, I'm running sweep. Last year, we see people at lunch and dragging a little bit. I'm like, hey, this pretty much means if you're still here at late lunch, at 2 o'clock, that probably means that you got to ride straight back. Like there's no, you know what I mean? Like you're going to have to take main all the way back. Don't try to take an expert, because you know what I mean. But we'll sort that out. It just depends on the weather and depends on how many riders are on the trail. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we have to think about as the organizers. But yeah, we'll shoo you along a lot of times too. We see people struggling, or if we see people lollygagging on the trail and hanging out, which is great. We want people to enjoy, but we also just know what's ahead and know that you've got to get out before dark, or it just makes it difficult for everyone.
So first timers should probably be prepared to leave early then. That way they've got all the time to either enjoy everything.
That's right.
Or
we encourage
that.
I would start early and, don't take too much time at lunch.
So you mentioned the preparation list you guys have online. Could you hit us with a couple quick staples for things that if people haven't thought of that they definitely need to make sure they prepare for up front?
Tools. If you're on a small tank bike, I would bring some fuel. There are fuel stops, like Eddie mentioned earlier. We have it kind of routed where the fuel stops are available, but it can get a little tight sometimes, and especially depends on how you are on your throttle. There's a lot
Yeah.
of different variables that contribute to that. And if someone in your group gets lost and you have to ride back 5 miles to find them and blah blah blah, then you're using more fuel than you may have realized that you were going to. So we always encourage people to bring a little extra fuel, at least in one person in your group or something. Bring a jacket, bring a rain jacket, something packable that can help you with the elements. There's a lot of things that I like. I like, extra pair of gloves, or at least, some things to keep dry if it does rain. Maybe if it's really raining, roll off goggles are great for mud and stuff like that. Or an extra pair of goggles. Bring a microfiber cloth to wipe off some stuff so you don't scratch everything too bad. And
Tires, new tires.
tires. I mean, it is the biggest thing that we talk about. We have a funny little inside thing that we call tire talk on Team 44, and we all have communication. We all have in helmet communication. PCI Race Radios takes care of us and helps us with our communication, which is key. For I don't know what our language thing out here for shit talk. We love to for each other, which is great. Which is the most
here. It's fun.
Which is the most important part of the communications, but second would be safety, I guess. But it's really good for that. And for us to tire talk, we talk about tires on the trail, on the radio. When we're on the two-way communication, we're always talking about tires, and it just varies. Tire pressures, tire brands, tire knobbies, tubeless versus moose versus it's constant. And so I know how to change a flat on this ride. If there is some pavement, so your tires will get heated up and you're rolling down, and there's some of it's old farmland. There could be nails. You just never know what you're going to run into. There's a lot of sharp edged rocks everywhere. So carry a tube, or carry at least the tools to help your buddy to help change a tire. I think that's always important. Bring whatever medication you need. We find that a lot of times as an organizer. Like somebody's like, "Oh, I forgot my medicine at the campground." Keep your medicine with you if it's something that you have to have. That's very important. I would keep a little Advil or something like that too, or some allergy medicine with you. Little things you kind of forget sometimes. A snack is nice. We all ride with hydro packs. We all have USWE packs, with water. I would keep, if you don't have one of those, at least keep a bottle of water or some sort of container of water, so you can, you're going to get thirsty. And if you're working hard and you're sweating, it can be very hot and humid. You get dehydrated, your day is done. So that's very important. Hydration is a huge thing when you're riding, we find, no matter where you are. What am I leaving out, Eddie?
No, I think that covers it. The obvious, everything, safety oriented, goggles, helmet, gloves, boots, pants.
And we encourage people. We tell people all the time, like, we're not necessarily policing people saying, "Oh, you don't have the right equipment," but man, it's crazy to see sometimes what these guys show up in and call it a helmet or call it protective gear. Like, I don't know, you don't put a price on your head or your whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can ever,
community, man.
I don't know if you can ever reach those people.
Boots, man.
Yeah,
It's totally a thing.
I don't know if you can reach those people to begin with, but like I like the best equipment because I want to ride much. I'm 51. I want to ride into my 80s. You know what I mean? So I've already had enough surgeries. So I use the best equipment that's available if I can have it. And helmets, boots, gloves, goggles, a good jacket. Those are just necessities. Just make sure your bike's prepped. That's the other thing. I mean, I know I say it again, but it's amazing. We see people show up with slick tires and air filter. They're like, "Oh, I think I changed it 5 years ago." "Oh, this bike, it used to run." Like, you don't want to be stuck out 100 miles from camp on a bike that's questionable. So
I like the
Pack a
guys
toe
that show
strap.
up with jeans with knee pads strapped to the outside of their jeans. You're
there's
like,
going to be
dude,
one of those guys.
what's happening here?
We always see one.
Yeah, man. So summary is what I'm hearing in summary is bring water, bring snacks, bring rain gear, bring tires. Anything after that can be made up on the fly.
That was
I
gospel
mean,
right there. Put that on a t-shirt.
They need to call me Preacher Flux, Drew. That's what they
I'll
need to
write
call
that
me.
down.
Put that
I'm
on a
writing.
t-shirt.
Trust me, I'm highlighting it when I write it down.
The Good Reverend Flux.
Dude, oh my God, that's it. I'm changing my Instagram handle from Ride Rent Repeat to Reverend Flux.
Please do
Like
it. Before we get into extra innings, will you boys tell folks where they can find information for the event?
Renfro Valley Dual Sport, dualsport.com. Sorry, Renfro Valley Dual Sport.com. And we're on all the social media as well. And Kentucky Music Hall of Fame, like I said, is a great, you can stop in there and they've got information. They can always get a hold of us, and it's a good home base as well.
All right. And you said you're on social as well.
Oh, yeah, all the socials, we're on there.
All right, Flux, which rabbit holes did I skip over?
Dude, I don't know, man. I think I picked up the rabbit holes that you passed over. So yeah, I think I'm good. I'm pretty happy, to be honest, with the amount of rabbit holes we took.
Chad, did you want to talk about the Colorado charity ride you were mentioning to me?
Oh, yeah, so the Colorado 500 is the oldest organized motorcycle ride in America. It's been going on since 1975. This is actually, because of COVID, this is actually our badge year for 50. Pretty big event, very, very cool. I'm proud to be a part of it. I've been a rider on that ride for 17 years, and I'm actually now the vice president of the event. It is a charitable event, kind of like the Renfro Valley, but this has been going on for a lot longer time, and it was envisioned and started by IndyCar legend Wally Dallenbach. And what happened was, the backstory is, in the 70s, he took some of his winnings from one of the IndyCar races that he won, and he bought a ranch near Aspen, Colorado, in Basalt. And he loved to ride dirt bikes, and so he started riding them in the mountains out there. And so the word got around the IndyCar pits with some of those old famous names, legendary names that we know, the Unser family, the list goes on, and they all wanted to come ride with Wally and out of his backyard. So they started doing this ride, and then it developed into a charity and an invite only type thing, and it became an industry kind of thing where people really wanted to go be a part of this event, and it was in demand, and it's been going on for a long time. And Mr. Dallenbach and his wife sadly passed a few years ago, and there was a board that was created to keep the legacy of the ride going. And I've been on that board for a few years now, so I'm proud to be a part of it. And this year's the 50th, and this year we have Ricky Carmichael and Jeremy McGrath as our grand marshals for the event, which is going to be really great.
Yeah.
And last
I've
year
heard
was
of those guys.
McGrath, and also Johnny Campbell will be back this year as
Wow.
well.
Heard of him too.
Yeah, really good dude. And so, Carmichael actually is a really dear friend of mine, and really proud to have him be a part of the event. I've been trying to get him out there for many years to do this, but his schedule is always pretty tight. And but we're, with Triumph developing the off-road bike, finally getting it out there this year, it's going to be fun to get him and Triumph involved. They're coming to be a part of it, which is going to be great. It's just a really cool event, and that terrain, I mean, I'm sure you guys have ridden out there. It's just hard to explain to people. I'm a snow skier as well, so I love the mountains. I'm an outdoors guy, so I love being out there. But riding dirt bikes out there is just a whole nother level. The points of interest out there are just epic. Terrain is epic. The mountain towns, the culture, all the things that are involved with it. It's just a special event, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. And it grows every year. And Team 44, we've been a part of it, for my father-in-law was going out there. He got invited like in 2001 or something. I can't remember. He got invited to go, and then he took me a few years later. And there's been a lot of famous people. Actually, this past year I was fortunate enough, and I see Eddie's trophy back there. He was Rookie of the Year right
That's
back there.
cool.
I was the Rider of the Year this year. I was very honored to win that award, and it meant a lot to me, and because it's meant a lot to my family. But there's some really cool names on the helmets up here. I actually have it in my studio, and Malcolm Stewart's on there, and there's just actually Kurt Russell's on there. He rode, which is the actor, which is pretty cool.
That is
I
cool.
did not know he rode motorcycles.
Yeah, kind of a random thing. So we're actually trying to get him back this year, at least to do a video to talk about the 50th and stuff like that. And Pierre Cars Makers on there. There's some really cool names on there that have been a part of this event. And Team 44, we look forward to it every year. It's probably our, with Renfro Valley and that are kind of our bookends for our biggest events that we take part of. And it's a lot of fun, man. It's tough terrain though. This about whatever you want to choose out there too. There's some really slow, technical, tight, switchbacks that you have to learn how to navigate. I'd never seen such a thing until I started riding out there 20 years ago. These switchbacks are gnarly. You're looking off with a lot of exposure.
It's life or death, dude.
Yeah, man, it's no joke. So
it's not like I might get stuck out here tonight. It's like I might flip and die. My buddy Frank goes out there to that every year, to the Colorado 500, and I always live vicariously through him. Yeah.
Which Frank?
Frank, man.
I love Frank. We're on the board together.
Dude, I've known Frank for almost 30 years, bro. He and I go to
day.
the old dual sporters. Tell him Flux from the Dogs said what's up.
All right.
And he'll be like, that guy's an idiot.
I was on the phone with him yesterday. Like we talk all the time. He and I. He's actually come to Renfro. He came last year.
I've known him for 30 years, bro.
He's bringing all his boys. There's a bunch of Georgia guys coming up this year.
Man. Yep. We could go down a list of guys you and I probably know that I didn't want to waste our podcast with. But I had to give a shout out to Frank.
Definitely not going to waste it on Frank for sure.
No, hell no.
And the listeners have tuned out.
That's all right. We're at the end, Drew. This is bonus time.
But it's a great event, man. That event is so special, and I hope it continues as well. And it's good for motorcycles. It's good for the sport in general to keep it going, and all these organized rides, man. I know that you're doing a great job down there with the Red River Scramble as well, and I'm proud of that, and proud that you're doing it in kind of my backyard where I'm from. So continue doing that stuff, man. And I know there's great riding everywhere in America, which is so cool too. Like there's so many places that people don't know about, and I want to ride all of them. And Eddie and I want to map them all and figure it out.
So just to cover that, is that charity ride? Is it invite only, or
it is invite only?
Okay,
unfortunately, it's full this year, as you can imagine, because of the big names that are kind of coming.
Like Frank,
yeah. That are the people are kind of bringing this, the people that haven't been in a few years are like, oh, 50th, I'm going back. So we knew it was going to be a big year anyways, but we'll be back next year. The 51 is going to be special too. So we've got a lot of things planned, and look into that as colorado-500.org.
Okay.
Is the website on that. And it's a really cool event. Been some really great people that are involved, and great industry support as well.
That makes sense. Eddie, was there some other stuff this year that you're looking forward to, you want to share with the folks?
Well, that's a really good question. Well, there is an event that takes place on my birthday in October that I'm looking forward to, that on the Red River Scramble. That's October the 1st. So
that's a rally that shall not be named.
Time. Yeah.
Yeah, you planned that on my birthday this year. So yeah. No, actually, I talked about the cat and riding some of that. I haven't been able to piece it all together. So one of the highlights I have this year is exploring some more of that, getting into the the Pikeville, the West Virginia, the Virginia sections of that. So we've got some dates on the calendar to kind of get down there and explore that.
That'd be good. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like I'm down there all the time, and I've yet to get that far south and that far east. There's still, probably 700 miles worth of KAT I've never ever seen. So yeah, it's a lot to try to take on.
I guess I should say Kentucky Adventure Tour. So it's So
I get that's a fair point, right? Like I take it for granted because we do mention it on the show a lot. But yes, look up Kentucky Adventure Tour if you are not familiar, because that's 1,000 miles through Kentucky, and like you said, all that stuff through Rockcastle County and everything is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know how close the Renfro Dual Sport gets to. I think it's KAT Hard Section 5. That's along Sheltoe Trace as well. That's another section of Sheltoe Trace you can ride on a bike. Have you done that on a bike yet?
yes. Oh, it's probably my favorite section of that I've ridden, and it's close. It doesn't quite quite touch it, but it's very close to that. So that's about as far south as the Renfro ride goes.
It's got to get. I imagine that these two routes or events overlap where that mine was, Drew. That I can't remember that I took pictures of. No, okay.
Well, yes and no. So Mullins Limestone Mine is near Livingston, so you guys might be close to that. Kentucky Hard 5, that part of Sheltoe Trace is further south than that. It's on the other side of. I think of Kentucky 909. I think that's exit. I think you mentioned that before. Yeah,
it's 80.
Yeah, something like that.
It's out of It's between London and Somerset.
Yeah, and those sections are on the west side of 75. Most of the stuff I ride is on the eastern side of 75. It is Kentucky baseball, or wow, it is Kentucky inside baseball. That's like a real thing. So no, I like it.
Awesome.
Did any other stuff you guys want to put out there for the listeners before we shut it down here?
Covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. So if folks want to find you in any place we haven't mentioned yet, where can they find you?
I'm on social media, Chad Warrix, Warrix, and also my band Halfway to Hazard is on there. Renfro Valley Dual Sport, Colorado 500. I'm kind of all over the place with mixing music and motorcycles. So you can find me. Let's talk about any of those things.
You got any shout outs, Eddie?
Well, there might be a place that you've heard of. We talked about earlier, the Holler. I certainly have, that place is near and dear to me from the point that whenever I picked up riding bikes again and, participated in some of the KXCR stuff, and it kind of retrained me so I could keep up with these guys on Team 44, at least try to keep up with these guys. But that's a great place for folks that want to, in central Kentucky within, a couple of hour driving distance of pretty much anywhere in the central part of the state. You can get out there and spend a day and get into just about anything you want to.
Good riding. There's some tough stuff in there.
Yes. Yeah.
All you want.
Chad's explored it, seen it, but it's a great facility. There's full service campsites. There's an Airbnb that can be rented on site there, the farmhouse, and then I know that the landowner hosts some events there, and who knows, there may be some hair scrambles again this year.
Hopefully so. Any closing comments, fellas? Ride dirt bikes, take chances.
I say take that as a no right there.
Oh, there's a lot to look forward to. Hope everybody unpacked that. With that, we will catch the listeners down the road.